A lioness has a gazelle by the throat. She holds it there, patient until the legs stop kicking, and then, no pause, no ceremony. Sometimes, before the animal has entirely left, she begins to feed. Watch her face while she does it. There's nothing on it. No horror. No hesitation, not even the small grimace you'd make emptying a mousetrap. She'll do this tomorrow, and the day after. Every hunting day she has left, for the rest of her life. Thousands of deaths pass under those paws, and as far as anyone has ever managed to measure, not one of them costs her a single second of what you would call guilt. It's easy to watch that and reach for a word. Cold. Maybe something worse than cold, and I want you to hold on to that reaction, that little flinch, because it's the most interesting thing in this whole story, and it's aimed in exactly the wrong direction. We look at the lion, and we ask why it feels nothing. Wrong question. The lion is fine. The lion is doing precisely, flawlessly what a lion is for. The real question, the one that should sit with you a little uncomfortably, is the other one. Why do you feel something? How did one animal on this entire planet end up looking at its own dinner and feeling sorry for it? To get there, we have to take the lion's side seriously first, because the honest answer starts somewhere that sounds obvious, and turns out not to be. There's no reliable evidence that any predator feels guilt or remorse toward the things it kills. None. And before that lands like a verdict, look at why it almost has to be that way. Run the alternative in your head. Picture a lioness who hesitated, who felt a genuine pang each time, who needed a moment to sit with the gazelle before she could eat. That lioness hunts a half-second slower, misses a few more, feeds her cubs a little less. In a world where most hunts already end in nothing, a little less is the whole distance between cubs that grow up and cubs that don't. Guilt for a predator isn't a virtue. It's a leak in the hull. Evolution doesn't argue with a leak. It just quietly lets whoever's carrying it go under, generation after generation, until only the untroubled hunters are left. So the missing remorse isn't a defect that slipped through the cracks. It's the opposite. It's what remains after millions of years of removing everything else. The guiltless kill isn't cruelty. It's what competence looks like when the stakes are dinner, which would be a very tidy place to stop if it were true all the way down. It isn't, because this is exactly where most people fall off the other side of the horse. The tempting next thought is that the lion feels nothing because there's simply nothing in there, that animals are wet machinery, running without a passenger, and that turns out to be flatly wrong. The primatologist Franz de Waal spent decades documenting the opposite. In the chimpanzee colonies he studied, after a fight, a third chimp would routinely go to the one who lost, drape an arm over it, groom it, just sit close. He called it consolation, and the word does honest work, one animal registering another's distress and moving to soften it. He ran a now famous experiment too, with capuchin monkeys, two of them doing the same little task, one paid in cucumber, the other, in full view, paid in grape. The short-changed monkey would look at its cucumber, look at the grape next door, and hurl the cucumber straight back at the researcher. De Waal read that as something close to a sense of fairness. People still argue about exactly what's happening in that small head, but nobody watching the footage thinks they're looking at an empty one. So animals aren't hollow. Some of them carry the raw materials of a moral life, comfort, cooperation, that flash of outrage over a bad deal. But here is the hinge of the whole story, and it's easy to walk right past. Every bit of it points inward. The chimp consoles another chimp. The capuchin wants a fair shake from other capuchins. A wolf will half-starve itself to feed its own pack, and then run down an elk that same afternoon without a shadow of conflict, because the pack is family and the elk is groceries. Empathy, it turns out, ships with a target already installed. It evolved to hold a group together, to make cooperation pay, to keep your own kind alive. The prey was never once on the guest list. A creature that spent its empathy on its food would be a creature that starved to death with a beautifully clear conscience. So every predator alive draws the same quiet line. Feel for your own. Feel nothing for your food. Every predator with, as far as we can tell, exactly one exception. You. Go through the records anthropologists have kept of human hunters, across cultures that never met and had no way to copy one another, and the same strange thing keeps surfacing. Not triumph, apology, unease, a pang at the moment of the kill. Whole hunting traditions built rituals around it, asking the animal's forgiveness, thanking it, handling the body a certain way so its spirit wouldn't take offense. The anthropologist Rane Willer-Slev lived for months among the Yukagir, hunters in the far northeast of Siberia, and described a world where the animal isn't really an object at all, where killing it is tangled up with the unsettling sense that you're dealing with something almost like a person, something that might just as easily be looking back at you, and you don't have to travel to the taiga to find the residue of it. Psychologists have a name for the quiet, low-grade version that runs under ordinary modern life: the meat paradox. The term is barely older than a decade, Bachman, Haslam, and Bastian, 2010, and it names something most people recognize the instant it's pointed at. We love animals, we eat animals, and somewhere underneath that bothers us, enough that we've quietly arranged our whole lives around not looking straight at it. That bother is the anomaly, not the lion's calm, yours. We appear to be the one predator whose empathy slipped its collar, ran clean past the border of its own species, and came to rest on the creature at the far end of the spear. Why us and nothing else? That part is honestly still open. The leading idea is almost embarrassing in its simplicity. We got freakishly good at imagining other minds, at climbing behind someone else's eyes and guessing what it's like in there. It's the same trick that lets us cooperate, lie, fall in love, and sit here turning a thought like this one over together, and a tool that powerful doesn't stay politely in its lane. Aim it at another person and you get empathy. Aim it by accident at a gazelle, and apparently you get something no other hunter has ever had to carry home. One caveat, because this is the kind of story that punishes anyone who gets too sure of himself. We can't actually pry an animal open and read the inside. We watch what it does, and we infer the rest. Maybe there's a faint flicker in the lion we've simply never caught, something private that never reaches the face. Maybe, but everything we can measure lines up the same way. Out there, guiltless killing is the rule, and feeling sorry for your prey is close to ours alone. Let me put the honest question to you before I land this, because you're better evidence than any lab. Have you ever actually felt it? A real, specific twinge of bad for an animal you were about to eat? Or one you watched be killed? Not the idea of it, the feeling. There's no lecture waiting on the other side of your answer, and no correct box to tick. I only want to know how common that quiet pang really is. Tell me in the comments. And if the strange ones like this are your kind of thing, you already know where the subscribe button lives. Because here's the turn this whole thing has been walking towards since the first frame. We look at the lioness and we see a hole, a missing part, a conscience that should be there and plainly isn't. Now run it backwards. Nothing is missing from her. She is complete. She is precisely, perfectly what a predator was shaped to be. A clean, quiet instrument for staying alive. Carrying no weight she was never built to carry. The gap isn't out there on the grass. It's on this side of the screen. You can feel sorry for a creature you will never meet, born in a place you'll never see, killed in a way you'll never watch. The lion carries nothing like that. As far as we can tell, nothing in the wild does. We call the thing we carry a conscience, and we assume it lifts us above the guiltless killer, makes us the finer animal, the one that climbed far enough out of the food chain to pity it. Maybe it does, or maybe it's just the strangest, most useless gift evolution ever slipped into a hunter. The ability to grieve your own meal, and then all the same to eat it.